Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video lecture I shall be discussing a very important concept related to John Osborne's famous play Look Back in Anger. So the concept that I am going to discuss today is the concept of the angry young man. Angry young men actually represented the British novelists and playwrights who emerged in the mid 20th century around 1950s. Now the question is, why are they called or why are they labeled as angry young men? They are labeled as angry young men because we find that they express their dissatisfaction, they express their resentment against the established socio-political economic order. In fact, it is the mediocrity, the hypocrisy of the upper middle classes that led to their resentment and impatience at the same time. As far as the angry young men are concerned, they basically represent a breed of new intellectuals, mostly belonging to the lower class origin or working class origin, and they got educated, most of them got educated at the post-war brick red universities and very few at the Oxford University. Now we find that these angry young men, now they basically share and let's say an outspoken disrespect for the British tradition, the traditional British class, as well as the class system as a whole. In fact, they express their resentment against the traditional network of pedigreed families. In their works, we find these angry young men, expressing their raw anger, their frustration against the post-war reforms which claimed to bring about change in the society, but in reality, no such thing happened. So we find that the post-war reforms failed to keep its promises, and at the same time, it failed, to meet the exalted aspirations. These angry young men, they also express their disdain, uninhibited disdain, for the welfare state, which claimed that after the war there would be, or with the establishment of the welfare state, there would be equality, there would be employment, then there would be no poverty. But then those people who belong to the working class, their experience simply belied it, because they not only suffered from poverty, but there was no employment, and at the same time they had to face intense class conflict or class discrimination. So as far as these angry young men are concerned, we find that they are dissatisfied with the socio-economic political order of the time. Although media projected that England had been successful in removing poverty, in combating against poverty, unemployment, but in reality the picture was altogether different. So basically we find that in the works of these angry young men, they portray their unvarnished anger, their unvarnished dissatisfaction with the present state. So these plays and novels, basically we find they portray typically a ruthless working class male protagonist who views society with scorn and sardonic humor, and who may have conflicts with the authority, but at the same time he is preoccupied with his quest for upward mobility, which is clearly depicted in Look Back in Anger by John Osborne. In fact, when Look Back in Anger was staged in the year 1956 at the Royal Theatre, the press agent of the theatre, he referred to John Osborne, the author, as angry young man, as the angry young man, because he could see that the play is simply, in the play, Jimmy Porter, the male protagonist, he simply becomes a spokesman of John Osborne. So, and since then, this term, this angry young man, began to be, it began to be applied to all those who expressed their rage at the persistence of, let's say, class distinction, discrimination, and who also expressed their pride in their lower class mannerisms, and who also expressed their intense dislike for anything that appeared to be, pretentious, or let's say phony, because in the play we come across this term, phony. As far as this trend of angry young men is concerned, we see that the trend was there in, we could see this trend in John Wayne's novel, Hurry On Down, which was published in 1953. And then we also find it in, we also come across that trend in Lucky Jim, written by Kingsley Amis. But Look Back in Anger came to be called as the it came to be regarded, as the representative work of this angry young men movement. So what we find in Look Back in Anger is that Jimmy Porter is angry, and this, this historical context, or the social political context of the time, simply tells the reader as to why Jimmy Porter is so angry. And we find that despite being a university graduate, Jimmy Porter is deprived of a respectable job in society, and he is also deprived of a respectable position in society. And the reason being his working class origin. So we can see very well that although it was said that although the welfare state project claimed that there would be no class discrimination, there would be no class conflict, yet people, belonging to the working class origin, or let's say to the lower middle class, who belong to the lower middle class, they continued to face poverty. They had no proper employment, and they suffered from this class struggle, or let's say they became victims of this class discrimination that was very much prevalent in the then society. And in the play Look Back in Anger, we find that John Osborne simply portrays the anger, the resentment, anxiety, and frustration of the post-war youth generation, which is represented by Jimmy Porter in the play. So now we can understand that this concept also throws light on the significance of the title, that is Look Back in Anger. Why is he looking back in anger? So if we look at Jimmy is lamenting, okay, and Jimmy is lamenting because he can never have the power which people like Alison's father enjoyed in the Edwardian time, when he used to serve the British Empire. And so in the play we find how John Osborne placed these two men on equal footing as well as their lamentation is concerned. So here we find that Colonel Redfern, Alison's father, he is associated with nostalgia, while Jimmy Porter is associated with disillusionment. Why disillusionment? Because he is disillusioned. He himself is disillusioned after the Second World War, because everybody believed that with the establishment of the welfare state, it would bring about, genuine change in society. But that did not happen in reality, instant, and that is why we find these authors like John Osborne, who represent the angry young men generation. They simply, express their disdain, they express their resentment for the post-war social reforms which fail to bring about any genuine change in society. So I hope you like the lecture, and I hope you are able to understand the concept of the angry young men and relate it to Jimmy Porter in the play Look Back in Anger. So if you like the lecture, do share, like, and comment below, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Until then, bye bye.